heard of the term locavore. Has anyone heard of a locavore? Yeah. So a locavore is someone who eats within 100 miles radius of their home, or 160 kilometres. So that's, some people might call themselves locavore, and they choose to only eat within that range. There's also people like the Food Connect organisations, and their definition of local is 5 kilometre radius or 250. 5 hour radius or 250 kilometres. So they will. Food Connect, yeah, they're on the handout as well. There's a note about them. So different people have different definitions of local, and I encourage you to choose one that suits you, that is sustainable and realistic for you if you want to implement local into your food choices as well. That could be your backyard, that could be New South Wales, whatever that is, but just to be conscious of what that is, I guess, is more important than how small you go. Yeah. Yes. I certainly know that the other solution to local is also organic buyers group. So there's one in Randwick where as a collective, and I used to be a part of that, we would buy bulk organic fruit and veg, and we would go and compare it to the supermarket, and it was cheaper than non-organic in the supermarket. So buying in bulk with community groups is often a good way to manage the price. Sometimes buying at farmers markets, sometimes at the end of the day when they're just kind of getting rid of stuff, that's a good way to get a good bargain as well. But it is a very, yeah, I guess it's a very personal thing how you manage, what you prioritise in terms of your fruit and veg. But definitely buying in through community collectives, through co-ops, yeah, sometimes through co-ops, they can be expensive as well, is a good way to minimise the cost in that. It's interesting, we did a workshop not long ago, and there's someone from Woolworths in the workshop, and she was saying that all the organics in Woolworths are all packaged. You know, they've all got their own packaging and wrapped in things, and that's attributes to the cost of them, because they have to be separated and segregated and cut and packaged. That's actually part of the cost in them. It's not that they're more expensive necessarily to grow or to transport. It's just in that end piece that the cost comes in. So if you can bypass that end piece by going directly to the farmer and finding other ways to get really good fruit and veg, then that will reduce the cost as well. Yeah, great. And it also reduces waste, because you can just buy as much as you need. If you need 500 grams of this, rather than having to buy 3 kilos, you can just get what you need. So that's the other benefit of food co-ops. All right, so I'm going to get you on your feet again. Got one more activity. So this is around food miles. So as I said at the start, food miles are the transportation, the distance that it takes from the paddock to the plate. And I've got on the tables a number of different kilometres that will soon be there, and and the different fruit and veg. And so you've got to try and guess in your groups again which vegetable has travelled which distance. So to match up the miles and the vegetables.
Actually, yeah. Pumpkin is Queensland. I don't know that one. The Queensland. Queensland is 20,000. Oh, that's the furthest. Also from Tasmania, maybe? Or from Tasmania?
Tasmania has
Give a chance. Tasmania.
covering no bases.
Oh, Tasmania more than. Yeah.
And the oranges, where are they?
What's that one? Oh, 54.
I don't think this should be the group that's filming. So Tassie is like this.
Yeah.
Sorry, that is correct. How about you guys? So, as I discussed in the beginning, food miles are what we've just discussed. So the distance from the paddock to your plate can be enormous for some fruit and veg. The typical shopping basket in Australia travels 71,000 kilometres until it gets to your plate. That's 1.8 times around the world. So the actual distance that our food is travelling is enormous, which then highlights the energy and the waste that goes into the refrigeration and the spoilage in that transportation process. However, food miles have in the past been given a bit too much priority, I think, in what you choose to buy, whether it's local or seasonal or chemical free. They're actually, for vegetables, they only represent 11% of the greenhouse gas emissions involved in producing that fruit or veg. In meat, it's only 1%. So that means that 89% of the emissions for fruit and veg actually comes in how it's grown, where it's grown. So the chemicals, the fertilisers, all that, that's the bigger impact on the environment is through that. So in terms of choosing local versus seasonal versus chemical free, actually chemical free is going to create less impact on the earth if you prioritise that. So food miles are a great tool to look at in terms of what you're buying, but they're not the be-all and end-all. In terms of meat, they're only 1% of the impact. So it's good to just keep that in mind in terms of what you prioritise as well. And there's also the social issues around producing foods. So for instance, beans in Africa. There's a whole kind of local economy that's been formed around growing beans in Africa that then gets shipped to the UK for consumption. And there's been a lot of issues in the UK about do we just buy local and have policies around that, which would then, cut off whole communities that they've actually set up to grow their beans for them. So there's equity issues around that. There's also New Zealand lamb, for instance. It's 4 times more efficient energy, waste, fuel-wise to grow lamb in New Zealand and then ship it to the UK than it is to actually grow it in the UK. So there's also, it's not just local is the be-all and end-all. It's actually, it's more efficient to grow in a country that's used the right conditions are there for it. So it's not black and white. It's a bit complex in terms of food miles and the social impacts. But why you should buy locally is that it does support your local farmers. So in Australia, our farmers are an endangered species, basically. They're walking off their farms. I think it's 8 farmers a week walking off their farms. 3 a week are committing suicide because they just can't afford to keep it up. So it's really a dying breed, our farmers. So supporting them through farmers markets, co-ops, anything that's directly supporting farmers is keeping the money in the community and keeping those farmers connected to their community and to their livelihood, which is always a good thing. The social aspects that we spoke about, and also, the environmental and the waste. So when you buy locally, obviously you waste less, you don't have the storage, the packaging, all that kind of thing that's going to create more waste around that. And it gives you more lifetime in the fridge as well. So just a quick brainstorm on how we can buy local. And we've mentioned a few of these before, but how do you think we can do it? How could you go out tomorrow and buy local food? What would be your options?
Definitely go to a farmer's market.
Farmer's market? Yep. Yep, great. What else? Forage, great. Love it. Forage. The other thing with veg gardens is obviously there's a community around them, so there's a kind of bit of etiquette and you just don't go and take all the plants. Like, you've obviously got to be respectful and take little bits and seek permission to do so. So yeah, foraging is definitely a good way to eat locally. What else is there?
Plant your own.
Plant your own, grow your own. Yep. Good. Supermarkets on average give, I think it's 5 cents to the dollar to a farmer. Through a farmer's market they can earn, or a local cooperative, they'll earn 40 cents to the dollar. So there's a massive increase in margin. 5 cents, sometimes less. So I guess in terms of how do you budget for it, it's maybe it's maybe choosing seasonal, buying seasonal in farmers markets so it's cheap enough to compete with the local supermarket. It's not, I don't have the magic answer, it's very much an individual decision, but these are ways of bringing the cost down, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and making it more available for people to choose local rather than just what you have in the supermarket. What else we had? We had like Food Connect, the CSAs, Community Supported Agriculture Buyers Group. They're another really lovely way of getting your fruit and veg during the week. So the one in Randwick at the public school, it's a Monday night collection. Everyone comes between 6 and 7, you divvy up the food, you're out of there by 6:45, and you've just got this whole big bunch of amazing, cheap, organic fruit and veg that's local and seasonal. So the information for that's in your handout as well. All right. The other good thing as well is, even if these steps may not be the right one for you next, is just to have conversations around that, to be asking your food suppliers. So is it local, is it seasonal? Can you get local in? So having conversations and bringing people's awareness to the fact of the benefits of local and seasonal is an amazing behaviour change tool. We all love food, we all congregate around food, so even just the impact of you having a discussion around your dinner table around where this food comes from, it's incredible how that can shift other people's points of view and bring an awareness to the subject that perhaps isn't there in people's minds.